Let the games begin.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian, and it is episode 100.
Say what?
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is really cool. Honestly, we should have been on episode 100 a pretty long time ago, but that is not the case. We've now finally hit it, and I'm really glad that we finally hit episode 100. Still a lot of room to improve, but in any case, I think it's gonna be a good road to the next 100, hopefully. Yeah, we'll see where we go from there. But thank you for anyone who has listened from the very beginning to the podcast, or of the podcast to now, or if you jumped in halfway through, or if you jumped in at the beginning of this year, or if this is your first time ever listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this adventure. The podcast started off on YouTube first, and then it went to iTunes, and it went away for iTunes for a little while. Hopefully, if all goes right, this will be the first episode back on iTunes. So we'll see what happens through there. But just I want to say, anyone who has listened to the podcast constantly or frequently or every now and then, just thank you. It honestly means the world to me. I know I'm not the only movie podcast out there. I'm probably not even your most favorite movie podcast out there. But the fact that you guys come in and listen is honestly really cool, really great. So thank you. So let's get on to the podcast this week. We have quite a lot of movie news items, which is great for 100, really, to be honest. So let's start off with a couple movie news items that came out after the podcast came out last week. Oh, by the way, you would think after 100 episodes I would have gotten that down, but no, I didn't. Here's where we talk about all of the big movie news items that have come out throughout the week. Talk about also the big movie trailers that came out this week. We have quite a few of those, and we talk about the movies that are coming out in theaters this weekend for all your viewing pleasures. Okay. Probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, but I didn't. Okay, so like I mentioned, there was a few movie news items that came out after the podcast went up last week. All things looking right now, it looks like the podcast will be coming out on its normal Friday time slot. So there's probably going to be some more movie news items we're going to talk about next week. But let's talk about these two real quick. The first one is Idris Elba is playing a new character in the Suicide Squad. So despite early reports saying that Elba was going to play Deadshot in the new movie, basically replacing Will Smith, it was reported by Variety that is not the case. Sources close to the outlet told Elba that he would be playing, or told them that Elba will be playing a new character in the Is It or Is It Not reboot of the movie. It is unknown what character Elba will play, but Variety continued saying that everyone involved felt that it was the right move. The team did not want it to feel as they were disrespecting Will Smith by replacing him, even though there was a chance, or even though the chance of him coming back is very slim, but they wanted to leave the door open for him just in case he actually did want to come back. The reason why he didn't want to, or the reason why he's not coming back, besides it being, again, somewhat reboot, not really reboot, is creative differences, not necessarily, or it was scheduling, not creative differences, I should say. The reboot tag, like I said, is confusing because when the director, aka James Gunn, came in, we talked about the Suicide Squad last week, so we want to go back and listen to that little tidbit to get caught up. When he was brought in, it was reported that it was going to be a reboot, but then they casted Jai Courtney back, or they brought back Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang, and then last week it was reported that Viola Davis, her character of Amanda Waller, will also be returning. And there's also rumors that Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn and Joe Kinnaman's Rick Flag are also coming back. So it's a weird thing where everything that's been reported on so far is reboot, but they're bringing back these characters from the original movie, and these actors back from the original movie. So there's a case that maybe they'll forget everything. They're just going to act like the first one didn't happen, maybe. We don't know. But whatever the case, having a name like Elba come in is really interesting. They'll have plenty of time to figure it out because The Suicide Squad comes out on August 6th, 2021, and like I mentioned, it's going to be directed by James Gunn. Okay, so that was the first movie news tidbit that came out after the podcast came up. This one came out over the weekend, and I'm surprised it didn't get a lot more fanfare that it got, or maybe I just kind of missed it when it came out. But Adam McKay and Will Ferrell's production company is no more. After 13 years together, Adam McKay and Will Ferrell's production company, Gary Sanchez, is no more. Deadline broke the news that the two will do away with the production company and their female-centric offshoot, Gloria Sanchez, which is more on the newer side than the original. The duo met back in 1995 during their time at Saturday Night Live, and they were also credited with the comedy. They also created the comedy site Funny or Die, which was launched by The Landlord, which had Ferrell arguing with a 2-year-old girl, which happened to be Adam McKay's real-life 2-year-old daughter. McKay would go on to direct 6 of Ferrell's movies under the Gary Sanchez banner. That was the Anchorman movies, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, The Other Guys. So those are the 6 movies that he directed for him. The two released a joint statement saying that, quote, "The last 13 years could have not been more enjoyable and satisfying for the two of us at Sanchez Productions. We give massive thanks to our incredible staff and executives and all the writers, directors, and actors we worked with through the years. The two of us will always work together creatively and always be friends. And we recognize we are lucky as hell to end this adventure as such." The report from Deadline went on to say that Ferrell and McKay are still friends and will continue, like I said, supporting each other both personally and professionally. But other than that, there's no real reason why the two are departing. The two will finish being producers on the production company, on all the movies that the production company has lined up. So those movies will still be coming out through the Gary Sanchez production, but after that, no more new movies. McKay, of course, has moved on from straight-up comedies to more drama-heavy and real-life, apparently, situations. He directed The Big Short and Vice back-to-back, both, of course, earning him Oscar nominations in the process. And Ferrell has pretty much stuck to more of the same comedy routes. So there is that. The last movie that came out through Gary Sanchez production, and rumors going around that maybe this is the reason why that the two are splitting up, is the disappointing and critically panned Holmes and Watson, which of course starred Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, which of course they all work together all the time. So McKay did not direct that, but many people are saying that it was because of that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Who knows? Either way, we're losing a pretty great producer duo. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this turns out. But yeah, I don't know. It's really weird that after 13 years they're just up and quit like that. It's really, maybe, McKay wants to just move on to more drama stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. All right. So those are the 2 movie news items that came out after the podcast came out last week. Let's move on, of course, to trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
You have some pretty big trailers that came out this week. So we're not going to talk about all of them, of course. There is a new trailer for Booksmart, which is the feature directorial debut for Olivia Wilde. She directed this, got great reviews at South by Southwest. It opens on May 24th. It's about a pair of high school overachievers who never went to parties, never did anything against the rules, and now that graduation's coming up, they want to go wild. It looks really cool. It looks really good. There was a red band trailer that came out earlier this year. This is the green band trailer, so you'll probably be seeing this a lot more in front of movie theaters. Unless you go watch a rated R movie, then you will see the red band trailer. But there's a new green band trailer that came out for Booksmart. There was also a new trailer for The Secret Life of Pets 2, the sequel. It's obviously Secret Life of Pets 2. They've been pushing out these small little trailers for individual characters. This is the first trailer for the whole movie. I thought The Secret Life of Pets, the first one, it wasn't bad. It wasn't too bad. It was okay. I think it was missing something. It wasn't something that I went crazy for. But this sequel looks pretty good. It looks more of the same a little bit. Maybe a little bit more more antsy, more of the ants umped up, but. There's that. That opens on June 7th. And then a short teaser for the Addams Family animated movie came out. That movie is directed by, you wouldn't know by watching the trailer, but that movie is directed by the guys who directed Sausage Party. If you remember the animated movie Sausage Party, and then you look at the Addams Family, like, there is no way those two guys directed this movie. It is. They directed it. And it has a very impressive voice cast. Oscar Isaacs voices Gomez, Charlize Theron voices Morticia, Chloe Grace Moretz voices Wednesday, Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things voices Pugsley, Nick Kroll voices Uncle Fester, Bette Midler voices Grandmama, Allison Janney voices the villain in the movie. So it's gonna be, I don't know, it looks pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I watch the old Addams Family cartoons. Obviously, we're all familiar probably with the Addams Family movies from the 90s. I mean, I'm gonna go watch it. I'm not gonna. The animation does look a little wonky, but I think that's just the animation style they went with, and it looks fine. Whatever. All right, so let's talk about the bigger ones that I'm going to talk about. This one came out of nowhere because I didn't even know this movie was in the works. A new movie by Luc Besson, the director of Lucy and The Fifth Element, and producer on the Transporter movies and Taken movies. So the movie's Anna. It stars Sasha Luss, which I don't think she hasn't done anything big where we would recognize her, as a Moscow fashion model turned government assassin named, can you guess it? Anna, who is assigned to a top secret case in Paris. The film stars Cillian Murphy, Luke Evans, and Helen Mirren, and it opens on June 21st, which is ironic because it also opens the day. That's the same day that Child's Play and Toy Story 4 open. So it'll be some good counter programming that weekend for all of you guys. I really liked the trailer. Like I mentioned, it was a movie that I didn't even know was in the works or was happening, and all of a sudden they dropped the trailer a couple days ago, and I watched it. I'm like, all right, this seems kind of basic. And then she just starts beating the shit out of people in a restaurant with plates. And so, I mean, I'm in for that. That looks awesome. So this kind of just jumped to the top of my list, I guess. Despite, what Luc Besson's been accused of sexual harassment, stuff like that. But I don't think he's been proven guilty of anything. But regardless, it's still a little icky. But, I mean, the movie itself looks awesome. I'm just saying that. All right, so let's move on to the next trailer. It's Stuber.
Please be a 5-star ride.
Hey! Uber?
Yeah, be cool, be nice. I'm Stu. How do you do?
Compton. I'm LAPD. Let's go.
Or do you have a more specific address?
Compton!
Stop yelling, neighborhoods. That's not how Uber works. Hi, ladies.
What the hell's going on?
You selected the Uber pool option.
Uber what? Ladies, official police business.
Is that even real?
Get out of the car!
Official police business?
Just going to see a friend. Take this.
Oh, I am not touching that.
It's a baby gun. It allows you to fire it while crying.
Is this an Uber?
Get angry!
Stop that! Why are you laughing?
Own it!
Get it the least!
You shot me! You got shot in the leg. Good for you, man. You shot your first guy. You're scared, Miss Stu, and I love it!
How do you know my
I
dad?
got an idea! I'm gonna throw this propane tank at them! You shoot it, it'll blow up their car!
You kidnapped me.
This isn't freaking Jaws!
Exactly! Just like Jaws, it's gonna work! Ready?
We killed some people.
Go!
Take a shot, Stu!
Just defeat him!
Stu, take a shot!
I got this.
Hello? Operator? We need help! Someone's trying to murder us! Hello? Operator? We need help! Someone's trying to murder us!
A buddy action comedy that follows an Uber driver named Stu, played by Kumail Nanjiani, who picks up an LAPD police officer, played by Dave Bautista, in the middle of a hunt for a killer. Stuber also co-stars Karen Gillan, Natalie Morales, and Iko Uwais, who I didn't even know Iko was in it, and then I realized that it looks like he's the guy they're chasing throughout the trailer, just with blonde hair, so it's kind of interesting. This was kind of funny. I mean, I'm a huge Dave Bautista fan. I'm a big fan of Kumail Nanjiani as well, and just seeing them two in this kind of buddy action comedy looks great. I mean, there's that moment where he just tells like, "You shot your first guy. You know, how do you feel?" I don't know. I just cracked up at that line. It's really cool. So anyway, Stuber opens on July 12th. If you want to go check that out, Disney decided to drop the new trailer for The Lion King, and yeah, it looks pretty good.
Life's not fair, is it, my little friend? While some are born to feast, others spend their lives in the dark. Begging for scraps.
Everything you see exists together in a delicate balance. While others search for what they can take, a true king searches for what he can give.
Run away, Simba, and never return.
You must take your place in the circle of life.
It looks great. I mean, the animation's awesome. It's Jon Favreau who directed the quote-unquote live-action adaptation of The Jungle Book, which I really loved. It was one of my big surprises of that year it came out. And when I found out he was doing The Lion King, I was like, no, yeah, totally. I totally see that. You know, the first teaser that came out, you know, they didn't show any of the animals talking. This trailer does definitely show the animals talking, and it looks cool. You know, everyone's talking about Scar, and I have my opinion about Scar. He looks a little bit too shaggy for me, but it wasn't like I was expecting him to have the red fur like he has in the animated movie, because it would just kind of be too. It's like at that point it's like, no, just put on the animated movie. So it's more, you know, photorealistic. They're going for that effect, kind of what they did with The Jungle Book. So I'm all for it. I mean, the only thing that I have regrets about this movie, or, you know, not regrets, it's not like I worked on it. The only thing that I have some pushback for is seeing Mustafa die again. I don't want to see that again in real life on the big screen. Now that I'm older, I don't think I can take it again. But yeah, that trailer came out. It looks really good. It really does. It looks awesome. I think Jon Favreau and Disney are going to be rolling in money again this year. So that opens on July 19th. Now, another trailer dropped today. Of course, Star Wars Celebration is happening right now here in my hometown of Chicago. I'm not going to Star Wars Celebration because I didn't buy tickets, and I got other stuff to do this weekend, unfortunately. But Star Wars Celebration is going on right now, and there was going to be a bunch of stuff that dropped. Of course, the Disney Plus app announcement that they were doing, that dropped, and that's awesome. I'm definitely going to buy that. Not because I'm a Disney diehard fan, because I think the streaming service is awesome. I think what they're going to do with it is great. But we're talking about trailers. This is the trailer talk segment. We're not going to talk too much about Star Wars Celebration because a lot of it's going to be stuff that, you know, they're going to be leaking out every now and then. But one of the things they did allow to come out was the trailer, the first teaser trailer for the new Star Wars Episode 9, which we finally got a title for it, and some people were already making fun of it. Star Wars: The Rise of the Skywalker.
We've passed on all we know. 1,000 generations live in you now. But this is your fight.
don't know about you, but that trailer is awesome. That teaser is really, really great. Doesn't give you a lot, gives you just enough to hold you over. The movie comes out in December. It's April. Settle the hell down. You can wait for another trailer. So this is great. I liked it. I really loved it. The cinematography is great. A lot of what they showed was really awesome. It's been confirmed that there is a time jump from this one, from the last movie, The Last Jedi, to Rise of the Skywalker. I didn't write down what the time jump was, but there was a time jump in it. There's just a lot of great shots. There's that shot of Rey hugging Leia, and obviously Carrie Fisher's no longer with us, and that's really cool. We get to see Lando back in the Millennium Falcon, which is really cool too. Yeah, it just looks pretty awesome. There was that shot. I had to go back because I didn't know what was going on because I was just trying to figure out what it was. But it looks like Kylo's getting his mask redone. It looks like from the looks of it looks pretty cool. And of course, the very end, which everyone's going crazy about, the laugh, which is the Emperor. Is the Emperor coming back? Is it a flashback maybe? And JJ's like, haha, screw you nerds, I'm just gonna put that in there and screw with you. I don't think JJ would do that, but no, and seriously, like, are they gonna bring back the Emperor? There's that shot of, it looks like Rey and everyone and all our heroes. We see Finn, we see 3PO, we see BB-8, we see why am I forgetting Oscar Isaac's character name? Poe. We see them. It looks like they're all like in a desert at one point, and then they're overlooking something. I think some people said it was a part of the Death Star. So are they back on Endor? We don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm sure though diehard Star Wars fans have dissected that trailer frame by frame. I have not done that point yet, but I am just here to tell you the new trailer's out. If you want to go watch it, haven't seen it yet, or you want to go see it for the 100th time, there is a link to all the trailers down below in the description / show notes area, so you guys can go check that out. Obviously, if anything else drops trailer wise, I'll put that down below as well. And yeah, all right, so let's move on. Why did that sound weird? Let's move on. Sound like I was gonna say something else. Let's move on to our quickfire segment. So the quickfire segment is where I talk about some movie news items that I don't have too much to say about, and they're pretty much self-explanatory. Dwayne Johnson gives an update on DC's Black Adam. Obviously, Shazam was a success at the box office last weekend. Looking to continue that this weekend, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. No, we'll see. We'll see. There's already actually, I wrote this news piece before our next movie news item, so I'll just go off this one. Dwayne Johnson, for those of you who don't remember, he was attached to play the villain, which is named Black Adam, for all you non-comic book fans out there, for years. I think like 10, 12, it was like 10, 14 years he's been attached already. Yeah, he's been attached for a long time. The character himself is one of the biggest villains for Shazam, and originally Black Adam was going to appear in the movie. However, an idea came through that they were going to do a Black Adam movie before Shazam, and then the idea was to shoot the movies back to back, and then have the third movie have them finally face off. Obviously, Black Adam took a back seat, and Johnson's gave an update after Shazam did a bang-up job at the box office. He was a producer on the movie, because the movie was produced through his $7 Productions company, Banner. Johnson took to Instagram and congratulated the team and said that Black Adam could start shooting in about a year. So that would mean that Black Adam could start shooting early. I can't talk. That's a bad sign. Early next year. Black Adam does currently have a script by one of the writers from Rampage, which of course Johnson worked on, but a director has yet to be attached. So there's that. Shazam, like I mentioned, was very successful at the box office, and Warner Brothers, DC, and New Line are moving forward with a sequel, and they are bringing back one of the writers for the movie, Henry Gayden. He's going back to write the script. On top of that, the director, David F. Sandberg, is expected to return as well, but that's not confirmed just yet. All right, so let's move on to this week's bigger movie news items of the week. Elisabeth Moss has joined The Invisible Man. She was reportedly in talks with Universal and Blumhouse earlier this year, and now she has officially joined the movie. The film is based off the H.G. Wells novel, which was famously adapted in 1933 with Claude Rains and was part of the old Universal Pictures monster movie lineup. Really the first shared universe in Hollywood. Earlier this year, of course, Blumhouse took control of the Universal monster movies after Universal's disappointing attempt at starting a shared universe called the Dark Universe with The Mummy that starred Tom Cruise, and Blumhouse was like, no, we got this. It's okay. Step away. We got this. And the idea now is that Blumhouse will do those movies and they will not make them a shared universe and instead focus on bringing in good directors to make good movies with good characters. That's the game plan, and that's what they're going to do, and I trust Blumhouse. From the very beginning, I said if you're going to do a shared monsters universe, Universal, give it to Blumhouse because they can do it. And they did it, but they lost a lot of money in the process. Also, when the movie was announced, Leigh Whannell was announced to write and direct the movie. Whannell made his directorial debut on Insidious Chapter 3, which he's written pretty much all the Insidious movies, and he was coming off directing the hit film Upgrade, which if you haven't watched Upgrade, highly recommend you do. So The Invisible Man will reportedly shoot in Australia, which is where Leigh Whannell is from, and if early reports are to be believed, it could start shooting later this year. That said, there is no official release date for the movie just yet, but now with the lead actress on the table and Elisabeth Moss, a very capable Elisabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale, from Us that came out earlier, although her role is unknown in the movie, and there's rumors saying that maybe she's going to be the invisible person. We don't know. Maybe. We'll see. The ball, of course, is starting to roll on that project, which is really, really cool. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what Blumhouse can do with that. Moving on to our next movie news item, the Russo brothers team up with AGBO Films and MGM. MGM has made a very impressive deal with AGBO Films and their partners Joe and Anthony Russo, aka the directors of Avengers Endgame, coming up in 2 weeks, and Infinity War and Civil War and The Winter Soldier. They directed all the good ones. I mean, there's of course other good Marvel movies as well, but anyway, to become the spiritual creative architects of some of the iconic properties in the MGM library. They have a multiple film non-exclusive creative partnership to co-develop, co-produce, and co-finance a slate of projects. The deal can extend to projects originated by AGBO, but the driving force behind this is that they can creatively steer the reboots and remakes of the movies being made. In fact, they already started on their first project to be produced with the partnership, and that is the reimagining of the Thomas Crown Affair, which has actually been in the works in Hollywood for a little bit. Michael B. Jordan is actually attached to star and produce through his production company, Outlier Society. The Russos are actually fans of the original Thomas Crown Affair movie with Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway, which if you like, isn't that a movie from the 90s? No, that was a remake as well. So, yeah. So this is pretty cool. The Russo brothers are going to do that. There's rumors that maybe they're going to do another new Poltergeist movie, which if that's the case, I know with the Russo brothers in the driver's seat, maybe people will finally be on board with that. This is really cool. I mean, this is pretty awesome. The Russo brothers are obviously more than capable of doing that, and the fact that they're going to be the quote-unquote spiritual creative architects of the properties by MGM that they're going to start piling out soon. I think that's pretty cool. So this one was the first movie news item that kind of kicked off the week. Kind of surprising, really, when you think about it, and a gigantic coup for Sony Pictures Animation. Longtime Disney director Rich Moore is leaving Disney for Sony Pictures Animation to develop, produce, and direct original animated features. Moore will also be an advisor or be in an advisory role with ongoing films and series-based projects for Sony Pictures Animation. Christine Belsom, which is the president of Sony Pictures Animation, had this to say, saying, quote, "Rich is a world-class storyteller, and he brings with him a wealth of experience and unique sensibilities for story, comedy, and heart. We are so excited for him to join our team of filmmakers at Sony Pictures Animation and we continue to develop a slate of animated features that are big, bold, and will take our audiences by surprise." If you're wondering what Rich Moore did for Sony, Rich Moore did for Disney in his time there, well, he co-directed Wreck-It Ralph and Ralph Breaks the Internet. He also directed Zootopia, and he was behind the development of Big Hero 6, On top of that, he also helped with the animation shows, or the animated shows, The Simpsons, throughout the 90s. He also was one of the original 3 directors for The Simpsons. And he also worked on Futurama. So he is a gigantic name in the animated world. And the fact that Sony Pictures Animation picked him up is really, really cool. And like I mentioned, a really big coup for them. And I think we can... I mean, it's not like anyone's going to knock off Disney and Pixar. But with having a guy like Rich Moore on your side really picks up a lot of things for you and can really open a lot of doors. And maybe names that you would kind of see always with Disney will probably start making their way over to Sony Pictures Animation. It's really cool. Moore also commented on the move, saying, quote, Sony Animation has emerged as a major player amongst animation studios. I know I said that 3 times. Their vision is to give filmmakers and artists the freedom to take risk and to really push the envelope when it comes to visual style and breadth of storytelling is impressive. I cannot wait to be part of the shaping of the studio's future. If you're wondering what Sony Pictures Animation just did, well, they did just win a Best Animated Feature Oscar for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, yeah, there is that. Good luck to Rich Moore and Sony Pictures Animation. I think this is pretty cool. All right, we mentioned briefly Star Wars Celebration is currently going on, but before all that, J.J. Abrams briefly talked about Star Wars 9, Episode 9 as it was called before the trailer dropped. He spoke with Fast Company in an interview that's really worth the read. If you want to read the whole interview yourself, he dives more just into not just Star Wars, he dives into other stuff as well. Put a link to the interview down below in the description/show notes area if you want to go watch that. But just a little bit of a refresher for all you guys that don't know this or didn't realize this. Abrams wasn't originally going to direct Episode 9. Colin Trevorrow, who directed Jurassic World, was going to direct Episode 9 and even put in a year of work on the movie before he dropped out after the disappointing release of The Book of Henry. And he left the movie over, quote, creative differences when the movie was released, and after didn't do very well at the box office and got horrible reviews. But after that, Abrams was hired, and of course Abrams directed The Force Awakens. He started this whole trilogy, and Abrams revealed something interesting during the interview, that he actually turned down the role of the director's chair, and one of the people that convinced him to actually come back was his wife, who is the co-CEO of Bad Robot, which is of course J.J. Abrams' production company, which is really interesting. He gave a great little antidote on that. I don't want to read it because I want you guys to read it yourself, but it was really funny. Abrams finally did admit that it was a daunting task to come back to direct The Rise of the Skywalker, as it's called, given that the film had already been given a release date and that he had tossed out the previous script by Trevorrow that he was working on. I'll read that quote because I think that quote's really interesting. You guys should hear what he had to say, saying, quote, to have no script and to have a release date and have it be essentially a 2-year window when you're saying to yourself, you've got 2 years from the decision to do it to release, and you literally have nothing. You don't have a story, you don't have a cast, you don't have the designers, the sets. There was a crew, and there were things that will be worked on, for the version that preceded ours, but this was starting over, end quotes. So there was, Abrams pretty much had the short end of the stick on this one. Even though he started the whole thing, I'm pretty sure he was a producer on The Last Jedi. He was probably just producer by name maybe at that point, but that was a daunting task for him. And when he came back, I was all for it. I love J.J. Abrams as a director. I really do. I love everything he's kind of done so far. I love everything he touches, because everything that he touches is pretty great. And for him to come back to basically finish the story that he started with The Force Awakens, I think is it's full circle, and I think it's great. So yeah, and Abrams reiterated that Episode 9, or The Rise of the Skywalker as we now know it, will be the final chapter on the entire Luke Skywalker saga. Of course, Episode 9 comes out this year in December. And like I mentioned, if you want to read the whole interview, which is really worth the while, I'll link that down below in the description/show notes area. All right, and this is the final movie news item that we're going to talk about this week. Again, if anything comes out, we'll talk about it next week on the podcast. Kevin Feige has given his post-Endgame plans for Marvel. Of course, we have Avengers Endgame right around the corner. And of course, while many fans are waiting to see what becomes of our heroes and what and everything we've come to love about them, many, of course, are looking toward the future. What happens after Endgame, besides Spider-Man Homecoming? Of course, the future now includes the ability to use characters they couldn't before, like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, thanks to the Disney-Fox merger that officially happened last month. Even before the merger happened, Marvel Studios President Kevin Feige said until they can officially get the characters, they wouldn't be planning anything involving them. Of course, now the question came up again, and Feige once again had a response. Speaking with IGN, Feige confirmed that there is a fleshed-out, quote-unquote, 5-year plan, and that doesn't include the X-Men or the Fantastic Four. Of course, that could be Feige saving face, being like, haha, suckers. But considering how much Marvel is a well-oiled machine at this point, it wouldn't surprise me, and it shouldn't be surprising to anyone, if that is really the case. Moreover, Feige said that he and Marvel won't reveal anything, until after Spider-Man Far From Home comes out in July. And he wouldn't even confirm or deny if Marvel was going to have a presence at Comic-Con this year, saying that would be kind of a spoiler. Whatever that means. I mean, obviously he knows what that means, but we don't. All that said, we do know that Marvel has Black Widow, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Eternals, and Shang-Chi in the works, which is going to be Marvel's first Asian-led superhero movie. And of course, there's no doubts that there's going to be sequels for Captain Marvel and Black Panther, despite what Chadwick Boseman's saying in interviews, saying that he's dead, which I think is so awesome that he said that. I think that's great. But here are my thoughts on this whole thing. And I know fans have had their thoughts about, like, well, no, we're going to see the X-Men at the end of the Endgame's post-credits. No, you're not. Because, one, we don't know what the hell is going to happen in Endgame or in Far From Home. So revealing anything after this, revealing anything now or anything that's in their next phase could potentially be a spoiler. And there have been rumors of what the next phase could be. There was that rumor a while ago that the next phase was going to be more space adventures or dive in more into the magical realm of things. But those are really early on, so we don't know what's going to happen. 2, Feige doesn't need to tell us anything. He doesn't need to tell us what's on the schedule. No matter how much fans curse the sky and curse his name and curse Marvel and swear they're not going to watch any more Marvel movies, he and Marvel don't need to reveal anything to us until they're good and ready. Because do you remember Inhumans? Do you remember when that was a movie that was supposed to come out? Do you remember that was supposed to come out, the slot for Black Panther? And they're like, no, we're going to put Black Panther in that slot, and we're going to make Inhumans a TV show? Do you remember that? Because we all do. It doesn't matter how many times you want to forget about it. That's what happened. And again, and the most important part, and I don't understand no matter how many times we tell you this, and I've said this multiple times when the podcast was up and running at that point, Marvel just got the Marvel properties back from Fox. Legally, they couldn't work on anything related to those characters until they got them. Plus, and this is the important part, why would Marvel just overhaul everything that they've been doing and everything they've been working on just because they can finally use the X-Men and Fantastic Four? Do I want to see the X-Men and Fantastic Four and under the proper Marvel banner? Fuck yeah, I do. Are you kidding me? Of course I do. I will nerd the hell out if, all those rumors that, oh no, the X-Men and Fantastic Four are going to appear in a post-credit scene in Avengers Endgame. Are you kidding me? I'm going to mark the fuck out if that happens. But no, it's not going to happen. I mean, they probably could if they wanted to. They're like, haha, we got this. We fooled all you suckers. Haha. No, but they're not going to do that. Why would they rush something so fast like those characters that everyone loves? And we would feel it. Fans would feel that was tacked on. So no, I don't want characters being tagged on. I don't want, a tag that's just, it feels like it's tagged on. It feels like an afterthought. It feels like, oh, they did it like a week before the movie came out and after they finished it. No, I don't want that. And I'm sure you don't want that. I'm sure fans don't want that. If the X-Men and Fantastic Four are going to be in the universe, let them be in the universe proper. Let Marvel work everything out, and so they can go and do what they got to do. Okay. That's it. That's all. I will say that's all the Marvel news. That's all the movie news in general that we have for the podcast this week. Like I mentioned, anything big drops, we'll talk about it next week on the podcast. But let's move on to this week's movie releases.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, like I mentioned, this podcast is probably come out a little bit later than I originally intended. So these movies are already out in theaters. If you want to go watch them, we'll start off with the limited releases first. The first one is Master Z: Ip Man Legacy. It is a spin-off of the Ip Man movies with Donnie Yen. Dave Bautista's in the movie. Michelle Yeoh's in the movie. Tony Jaa's in the movie. I mean, that's a pretty good cast for martial arts fans. So there's that. And the next limited release is After, based off a novel by Anna Todd, which came from a fan fiction site about Harry Styles. A young woman falls for a guy with a dark secret, and the two embark on a rocky relationship. That is literally the synopsis of the movie. And the movie is filled with a bunch of newcomers or unknowns, except for big names like Jennifer Beals and Selma Blair. I actually have not watched the trailer for this, and I really don't want to watch the trailer for it, but if that's your thing, there you go. Alright, so the wide releases this week. The first one is Little. It's basically a riff on Big, although we already got that with Shazam. A woman, Regina Hall, is transformed into her younger self at the point in her life when the pressures of adulthood become too much to bear. It looks pretty funny. I mean, I did generally laugh during watching the trailers for this multiple times, so I'll maybe go watch it. I don't know, we'll see. The next movie is an animated movie by Lenka, who of course have done other movies like Paranorman and Kubo and the Two Strings. Mr. Link, voiced by Zach Galifianakis, recruits explorer Sir Lionel Frost, voiced by Hugh Jackman, to find his long-lost relatives in the fabled valley of Shangri-La, along with the adventurer Adeline Fortnite, played by Zoe Saldana. No, not that Fortnite, settle down, teenagers. This trio of explorers travel the world to help their new friend. The rest of the voice cast includes Timothy Dalton, Stephen Fry, Matt Lucas, and Emma Thompson. This looks pretty good. Lenka's one of those studios where it's like you really like their movies or not, so there's that to take into account. But I think it looks pretty good. I wasn't all for it, and then I saw the trailer, and I kept seeing the trailer, and I kind of really fell for it. So yeah. The next movie is Hellboy, based on the Dark Horse comic by Mike Mignola and directed by Neil Marshall, who's directed Dog Soldiers, The Descent, episodes of Game of Thrones, Hannibal, and Westworld. Caught between the worlds of supernatural and human, Hellboy, played by David Harbour, battles an ancient evil sorceress, played by Mila Jovovich, bent on revenge. The movie is not getting those great reviews. By the time I'm recording this, I'm actually about to head out and go watch it right now, so I will probably let you know how it is on my social media account, or you probably already saw what I felt about it. There was a report that came out saying there was some production troubles for the movie, but there was another report within that report saying that was just a puff piece, so we don't know what's going on with that. But I was a huge fan of the Hellboy movies, the Guillermo del Toro ones. I was really looking forward to this third one, but that never happened. And then when this one was announced, I was like, it's not Guillermo del Toro. But then it was like, no, Neil Marshall's directing and David Harbour's starring. So I was like, no, yeah, I'm going to go watch it. And then I saw the trailers. I'm like, no, yeah, that looks pretty good. So I'm really looking forward to this. Speaking as like I'm about to go watch it, like literally as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to get in my car and go to the movie theater. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it's good. That's it. That's all I got for you guys. That's all I have for you guys this week on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. If it feels a little bit frantic, I'm sorry for that. I'm kind of in a rush here a little bit. Didn't want to rush too much on episode 100, but I'm glad we got to 100. I'm really glad on that. So yeah, here's to hopefully 100 more. Hopefully. Or at least another 50 more. Another 10. Another one. At least another one. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast in general. If you are listening to this on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought of the podcast this week. Like I mentioned, hopefully this will be the first podcast back up on iTunes. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave me a rating and review. I'll read them on the air. Or on the air, like I'm on the radio. I'll read them on the podcast and give you a shout out, and that really helps out the podcast in the long run too. So that's it, guys. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I got some big things planned for the podcast in the upcoming weeks, so stick around for that. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Be good people. Have a good one. Have a safe one. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!